Hello and welcome back to the Blues Focus podcast with me, Tommy Kelsall, Jamie Lawler, Sam Sheppey, and former Blues Focus podcast host, Jon Graham. Good to have you back on, mate.
No, great to be back. What a day to be back.
Indeed.
Yeah, I think things have changed a bit since I was last here, so hoping to put the mockers on that.
Indeed, yeah. I'm pretty sure the last time you were podcast host, I think Lee Bowyer was still manager, if I'm not mistaken. You might have been,
those fantastic days they were.
Of course, today is going to be an incredibly packed podcast. Of course, we've got Sam and Jamie with us as usual. It's good to have you back on, guys. But yeah, let's start off with the freshest news, which obviously today is Tom Brady being announced as a minor investor in the club, going on as the chairman on the new advisory board set up from the new investors. Who wants to kick us off? I mean, there is so much to unpack in all of this, so let's just get something on the table and then we can just discuss from there. Come on.
I'll jump in.
Don't like jump in.
Yeah, I'll go. We were saying before we start recording, I think he was linked maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and I think he was probably part of the plan from maybe the get-go when Wagner was sort of shown an interest. I have to say, when everything was launched today, it's a bit of a surreal moment because, I mean, he's the best to ever do it in American football. There's no doubt about that. It's ridiculous. I think 23 seasons, 10 Super Bowls, won 7 of them. So, to get somebody like that with just, obviously winning is in his DNA. He's highly respected. He hasn't got any really blemishes sort of off the field on his record. And I think for us to have somebody like that associated with the club, I don't think you can measure it right now, obviously, but I think over time it's going to be. I think today's the catalyst. The new owners are coming in and all the great news and the ground and the signings and everything else. But the good news bandwagon keeps rolling, and I'm definitely here for that. Don't know what else is around the corner. Hopefully a striker, but I think the reality is by having him on board, it gives us credibility, and I think we've all been crying out for that for so many years. We've been a bit of a joke. We've been kicked around a lot, and now there's a bit of substance. And I think having that the knock-on effect is across every part of the football club and the business. And I just think it's absolutely huge for us.
Yeah, it's such an insane day. I mean, I think we all found the news when we woke up this morning utterly bewildering. It's the most insane news that any Blues fan can witness after they've been asleep for a few hours of the night. It's really what we've needed. We've needed a bit of speed in the brand and the business for a long time. And I feel like the name Tom Brady just immediately gives us that clout almost just to go out there and put our mark down for this season, really. I mean, it is going to be amazing this season, no matter what happens. But I'm going to get carried away in a minute. Who else wants to get some?
Before you say we're going to finish in the playoffs or something.
We're going to get automatic promotion. We're going to win the league. I'm boxing Simon Jordan.
I'm in. I'll take it. I'll have him. Go on, let's go. Can I also batter Bassini as well, just for being a shithouse last year? Now I've got proper owners. Can we say Bassini's an absolute dickhead?
Well, that does bring up an interesting point, isn't it? It's how different life could have been with Paul Richardson and Maxi Lopez instead. I mean, what's everybody's opinions on that compared to this now? I mean, obviously it's much better, but seriously, what's the difference between the two, really?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different aspects to it, even from sort of the announcement of the takeover. I mean, we saw last season with Richardson and Lopez, they'd done their sort of little announcement in the car park, didn't they? It was all very impromptu and very sort of disorganized by the looks of things. And there were so many sort of questions that people looked into about the takeover and the sort of legalities around it, that there was just so much sort of baggage that came with that takeover that just doesn't seem to be here with this takeover. You've seen already with the interview with Tom Wagner, it just looks very sort of organised. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he wants with the club. And he knows where to get the club to. And he talks about the potential of Birmingham as a city. I just think it's a fantastic thing that he's talking about Birmingham on a whole and wanting to sort of renovate not only the club, but just sort of the attraction of the place as well. He seems to have done his research. And that's another thing, research into sort of what he's getting into and everything. And so many different aspects. And something that I'm really looking forward to, as all Blues fans are.
The situation with Lopez and Richardson, I think, because we were screaming out for anybody, I think that was the reality. And the Chong signing, and in all fairness to whoever was responsible, Gardner probably, but maybe with a bit of influence from the potentially new owners when they were kicking around. We got some bloody good loan signings last season. And I think that sort of news of a potential takeover probably assisted that. I think if we hadn't had that, we may not have got the loan signings that we did. And I think it's a sad indictment, really. I think as a Blues fan for many years, and probably all the same guys, that anything was better, whereas anything could have been just as bad. Whereas what we've now dropped on is the best, in my view. Certainly the best that we could have hoped for right now. And having a new ownership that understands exactly what we're about and the value of what we're about, and understanding the fan base, which I think he does. We couldn't ask for any more. And do you know what? It feels like it's clean money as well.
Yeah, that's massive.
So not that I'd have turned away Saudi money, to be honest. So I'm not a hypocrite, but it does help if I think it's very much, it does stand up to scrutiny. So if this does go in the right direction, then I don't think we've got any baggage to worry about. So for me, it's just monumental. It's monumental.
Yeah, something I was massively thinking about, actually, especially with having someone like Tom Brady walking into your football club. He's such a well-respected person in America, especially, that he won't want anything dodgy going on at that club. He won't want his name put to anything like that. So for him to walk in, it's pretty secure, if you know what I mean. Like you said, he's not had any bad things happen to him outside of the football field either, like in American football and all that. He's been very well respected. I think this is, like you said, this is the best, if not better than we could have ever hoped for, really, in terms of ownership at this club. 100%.
Yeah, I think as well, it's interesting to see that a lot of old Blues fans are starting to sort of make their appearances around the ground as well. So people like Stephen Knight, who was there when the protests were happening against the Preston game, but he's greatly involved now with Wagner and everybody in the consortium. Gary Cook, obviously, who's directly working with the Blues, he's a Birmingham City fan himself now. Jasper Carris as well was also there on the final day of the season against Sheffield United, which is all really because that they aren't really willing to work with people like BSHL, who were clearly suspicious of money laundering and everything that they were rumoured to be with as well. So with the new investors, there obviously are Blues fans, people like Jasper Carrot. I mean, like the massive Blues fans as well. So they are definitely going to be more involved with them now. Definitely more. I can't think of the word, but it's like they're more. It'll come to me in a minute. But it's like they're definitely going to be more visible, that's for sure, because there's nothing to hide about. There's nothing to feel like, right, I've got to keep this quiet, or I've got to make sure that I don't say this about the owners or anything. It's just, it's perfect, really. And we're going to see more of Blues returning as well. And that's why I love this whole Blues is back on the rise stuff as well. I think that marketing campaign is fantastic.
No, I agree with
definitely. I mean, you saw the video yesterday, which I think was meant for the kit announcement, wasn't it, with JK featuring in that, and again, sort of associating people with the club that are known fans of the club that want to be on board with what's happening now, and the fact that sort of Birmingham are inviting these sort of media personalities that are Birmingham fans to get involved and sort of have that camaraderie back with the club. From the top to the bottom, it just shows they really do care about the community and wanting to get people that are local and Birmingham fans on board, and even entice new people sort of that are around Birmingham that want to get involved and doing bits for the city, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been absolutely fantastic these last few months, but let's talk about some of the more team aspects. Let's talk about some of the signings we've made in this transfer window. We've made a fair few, to say the least. Jamie, who's your favourite transfer this summer? I mean, like, there's lots to choose from. Who's the one that you can see is definitely going to be a standout for this season?
Well, Mr. Woods is not on the podcast, so I'm going to openly fucking say that Buchanan is my favourite signing, because Manny Longello is not at left back anymore. And there's no disrespect to Manny Longello. I've said it for a while. I rate him going forward. He made me worried defensively. So we've got a solid. I'm torn between him and Ethan Laird, because I think losing Maxine Collin was difficult. He's been such a solid player for so many years that we needed someone solid, someone good or young and hungry to walk into that position, and we got it. Ethan Laird's an absolute steal for, was it under $1 million?
Under $1 million, yeah, and on a permanent deal as well. We will come contemplating whether we're going to get him on for a season loan or whatever. But to get him on a permanence is, like a steal, like you say.
And then Buchanan, like, what can you say? Teams wanted him. He's played for Werder Bremen, like he's playing senior football in Germany, and we've got him. He's ours on a 5-year deal as well. What's that about? We're giving long-term contracts out. I'm like, hang on, like. We're not giving, like, this free agent's been given a 9-month contract at Birmingham City with the hope of maybe an add-on for a year. Like, none of that seems to be happening anymore. I just, like John said earlier, striker. That's my only worry now. Centre forward.
Yeah, is Tyler Roberts not a striker or a permanent striker option for you?
I think so, and I think we still got Duke, and it depends on what Hogan I get on the day is my issue. Like, if I get the super confident Hogan that in the box is unreal, and he'll bang the hat-trick against the Baggies, fantastic. If I get my Hogan that hasn't scored for 6 games in a row, and he just plays like he's consistently pissed off and can't be arsed, like, different ball game altogether. I am willing to give him the second half of last season off because we were made away. He had a big injury, and he didn't quite get over it, and he was playing. But I want to see what goes on this season with him.
Yeah, I agree. Sam, who's the best signing of the summer so far?
I mean, yeah, there's a lot to choose from, put it that way. I'd say the most important one is Christian Bielik. I said it when we signed him. I think it's someone that sort of glues everything together, and so important that we get someone like that through the door because it's a player that we haven't really had before. Someone that is comfortable on the ball, very physical, can do very different aspects of the game as well. And he's going to be one of them players that, should he be fit, he'd be one of the first names on the team sheet. And he certainly impressed last season. There was a bit of worry about how he's going to be fit and because of his injury concerns in the past, but he did play a lot of games for Birmingham last season, and there was a bit of a worry about him because he got a bit of a knock in pre-season already, but he seems to be back from that, and if he can stay fit, I'm sure he'll be one of our important players next season.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely world class on his day, let's be honest, because without his injuries, I reckon he'd easily be a Premier League player.
100%.
Agreed.
Really. John, who would you go for as the best signing?
Well, I'd absolutely agree with Sam. I think it's a bit of a boring selection, but I think it's just an integral part of the team. And, don't forget when he went to Derby, he went for a lot of money. He had a lot of money. And, I think if we can keep him fit. And what I like about all of the signings, we've gone from this revolving door of loan signings where you fall in love with them, they move on, and it's just there's no consistency. And this is what I like about the new owners. And whether it's not rocket science, for Christ's sake, but just having assets at the right age that have got a bit of experience. They've got a proven track record, whether it's in this league or is it Germany or wherever it is, that that as long as we consolidate this season, and, we'll probably talk about predictions a little bit later on, but if we just have a good, solid season, all of those players are only going to go up in value. And that's the reality. So, when they look at it as a business, I mean, Laird, Jamie, I'm with you. I mean, that's robbery. Bakuna started it. That's robbery. And it's really good to see that all the players that we're signing, we know that we've got really valuable assets. And look what happened with Chong. I mean, he was bloody awful last season, in my opinion.
He was.
But, it's all about where do you sign him from? Got him from United, paid $1 million for him. He had a couple of moments, but nothing to write home about. And too lightweight for the Championship for me. But then we got money for him, which is fantastic. I really like the look of Dembele. I think that I think the challenge for me was always, if you've got, and I'm again with you, Jamie, on the Longhello situation. I think if you've got two really resolute fullbacks and you've got Dembele either right or left in front of them, then you're not reliant on him tracking back. He ain't going to do that too much. He's very much that sort of flair player, impact, box of tricks, a lot of pace, can make all the difference. And we've got to have that. If we're going to do anything this season, you've got to have at least one player that can just truly make a difference, and he can do that. However, if you've got players behind him that are a little bit suspect, it just compounds that problem. So I think as a unit with Dembele coming on, I think it's fabulous, and it's great to just have a player like that that's just going to bring. I mean, I loved Hilalovic. I absolutely loved the guy. I was just sad as fuck, but I did. He scored one good. He scored one good goal, but it's just players like that if they can be, part and parcel of the team week in, week out, we'll start to get an identity, not just for be high press and in your face. We'll actually have a little bit on the ball, and super impressed with that signing, to be honest. And the deals they've done and the money they've spent for, obviously the Chong money and the Bellingham money and the other Bellingham money, it's fabulous.
It's flawless, yeah. We've done really well.
I agree. Siriki Dembele, especially, like you said, John, he's a game changer. He's that kind of player that's going to take us from a boring 0-0 against, let's say, a resolute Stoke who are just playing back five, you ain't getting through them. He'll have that moment of magic, bang, 1-0. He'll just do something. He'll go for a one-on-one. He'll play it square. Jukovic will shit outside a back post. Something. He's just got that bit of ability about him where he'll unlock a game somehow.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
And I think we've had players like that, but it's just been sporadic. I mean, Villabella and players like that were just Jota, that you'd think, Christ, we've got a player here, and then for two games are absolutely unbelievable, and then they disappear. So there's always a risk, and I hope. But he's proven when he was at Bournemouth that he did it for a long period of time. So he could be a hero for us. I think that's definitely watch this space. But Sam, with you, Bielik, different level, absolutely different level.
Yeah, I think that I completely agree with all of those selections. Really, I feel like Bielik is definitely the strongest signing of the summer because it's the one we all wanted, wasn't it? I feel like Dembele would be great if he was the player he was. I think at Peterborough, from my experience of watching him, because
when he bullied us,
he was in a team that was so stable, such great fluent football, that he was his best self in that. And I think he would be the best signing of the summer if we could play that type of football. But we can't, and we definitely haven't been in the last few seasons. So I feel like players like Bielik are the best signings of the summer because that we can build in order to make players like Siriki Dembele the standout player of the whole entire team then. Speaking on the transfers going out, which is the biggest loss of the summer?
Well, I know John's not going to say. I know he's not going to say.
What does he say? Go on.
I know he's not going to say Chong.
No, it's not going to be Chong anymore. No.
On the note of Tahith Chong, though, how Birmingham City will it be if he goes and scores a shit ton of goals in the Prem now? He
won't. He won't.
Oh gosh. Any suggestions? What's the biggest loss of the team?
Yeah, sentimentally, Maxine Collin for me.
Okay, yeah. Why is that?
Harley. Maxine, just because even in our times when we were shit, and I mean I say times, in the last 5 to 6 years when we've been dog shit, because we have been, there's been no real joy, has there? He just consistently was an 8 out of 10 every game for me. He gave everything. He was always the one who, when we were playing crap, you could always walk away from the game and go, Maxine was all right. Maxine gave a good go. He did good. He was just Mr. Professional all the way through. So to see he weren't going to stay was sad. Harley was sad to lose because on his day he was class. On his day, but obviously his attitude and all the other stuff that happened and a lot of wages, he just had to go, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say like Dean is probably the biggest loss at the moment because we haven't got really a centre back in terms of like playing in the middle of a back three. Because if that's what we're going to do, who do we have at the moment that could really sort of fulfil that role? Because you have Sanderson on the right, we're not sure about the left, and we're really not sure about the centre. Because I mean, from the pre-season games, seeing the sort of defence, how they were against Peterborough and how they were against Cheltenham, it doesn't exactly fill me with confidence. So I think we still need 1 or 2 centre backs through the door. And the fact that, we've lost someone with the experience of Harley Dean, I think it is a bit of a loss, but we'll see what happens in the rest of the window because we've still got a lot of time to work with.
I agree. I think another centre back is massive. I can't agree more with that. I worry with, and I love Mark Roberts. I love what he's about, and I love he tries, but I just think we need to be more of a passing kind of athletic team this year. And from what
that was one of Dean's strengths, the passing, I think.
Yeah. Everyone who went to Peterborough I spoke to afterwards all said, we were trying to play nice fluid football, and then you give it to Mark Roberts who just send up the field, and he's like,
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, is Joe Bellingham not the biggest loss of the transfer window, really? Because he said the potential he could perhaps bring to the team.
I think that Yeah, he's got no pace. The Beal end, he's got no pace at all. I think he's got a lot on the ball. I think it's a 50-50. I think he could disappear, or I think he could really kick on. And I don't know. There was a couple of maybe 20, 30-minute spells last season where I thought, okay, he's really controlling the pace of the game, getting his foot on the ball. He does definitely have. He's one of those players that he seems to have a lot of time with the ball, more so than maybe a Sunjic or any other headless chicken we've got in midfield. But he's definitely got that sort of temperament. But unlike his brother, he probably hasn't got that over 5 yards to get out of trouble sort of pace. Yeah. I wish him all the best. I hope he's successful. I really do. I just don't at this moment in time. I don't. For where we are, I take the money. Yeah. And if he turns out to be a superstar, then fair play to him. And there's only love for Bellinghams in this club, so I hope he does kick on. But I've got to address the Harley Dean. Oh my God! Do you know how many managers he's sacked? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Do not forget the crankier down tools 10, 15 games. It was disgusting. Now, has he got it? Yeah, 100%. Is there a good footballer in there? Yeah. But anybody that down tools in our shirt, not for me, mate. Not for me at all. So I wish him well, but I'm glad he's gone. I'm with you. I think Colin, revelation for many, many seasons, never gave less than 100%, 7 out of 10 every week. It's absolutely superb. And if we hadn't got Laird in, I think it'd have been a downgrade if whoever had come into that position. Yeah. But Laird's different level. I went to Peterborough, and the boy is just an absolute live wire. But again, that could come with its own challenges, so we'll reserve judgment a bit. So yeah, I think for me, I'd agree with you, Jamie. I think Colin, just because he's just a proper Blues player. We've had so many good fullbacks over the years. Sort of going back to Martin Granger and bloody hell, I could go back a lot longer than that, but. We've always had some really good, honest fullbacks, and I definitely put him in that bracket. So, definitely sad to see him go out of all of them.
I had a moment of fear pre-season where I was in the pub and I nearly choked on my drink, and this is what I was thinking about going. Eustace likes to play back three with wing backs, and I was thinking because we just lost Maxine Cotton, I was like, Jesus Christ, we're going to start the season with Manny Longhello and Jon Graham potential re-sign as wing backs, and my head just fell off. I was like, no, like we're going to ship some fucking goals, like.
But you know what? I mean, you mentioned Jon Graham, and he probably isn't even on the list of anybody sort of. Oh, he's left, but he loved the club. You could tell he loved the club, and you could tell that he was really well liked and played out of position a lot. I think if you look at, he was probably just a little bit out of his depth, if we're being brutally honest. And I think he's moved. Is he on to Leighton Orient? Is that?
He has, yeah.
I think he'll be fine. He'll do fine, and
definitely.
But no, I think first season he was okay. Second season, I think he probably got found out a little bit.
Yeah, it's a shame really because he is quite a likable guy. I mean, like
lovely bloke.
All the stuff he does on social media as well is quite humorous and everything. So I wish him all the best. Really, I never hold any grudges against any Blues players. Really, it's like, I mean, like with the Harley Dean stuff, for example. It's interesting to talk about him for his attitude because, like, he did cup his ears to the fans, didn't he, against West Brom when he scored that goal, which never really sat right with me, to be honest, because I understand
I was right behind that when it happened. Were
you?
I thought it was strange at the time, because like I was sort of at the top and I could see it happening, but then it took me a while to sort of think like, oh, is he actually saying for us, like as in like what we've said? But carry on, Tommy.
No, it's fine. It was bizarre at the time though, because it was. I understand that he might not have been happy about the things that some fans may have been saying about him, but the general response that he gave was towards the whole entire fan base then, because doing that in front of your own fans, that are cupping your ears for those listening on audio, then that rubs off wrong, and it's never really sat right with me, that has. And I feel like that's where like attitude really is so important with some players, and it can last for your whole entire career at the Blues, particularly because we're such a loyal fan base and we we love our players so much and everything. Just to get one tiny gesture, it can change your entire look towards the club. Really,
the problem was
strange.
he was club captain, mate.
As well.
That's the thing. He was
100%.
club captain, and if you're going to down tools, everybody else will. And if Crank hadn't have gone when he did, and Bowie hadn't done what he did, we would. I'm telling you now, Tom Brady would not be loving Birmingham City today. And that's it's those little defining moments that players just have such a big role to play, individual players, and their commitment to the cause. And this is not a Dean outing fest, but there's no doubt he scored some great goals for us, had some good games, but just sometimes that attitude, like you say, Tommy, I can't remember too many more divisive Blues players because we don't tend to fall out with them. If they're crap, we say they are, but they don't tend to give it us back. Just sort of say as it is. But I think the reality is, I think we're definitely in positive territory with the transfer window this season.
No, 100%. Speaking as well, also very positive news as well is finally the work that's happening at St Andrews. I'm sure everybody's absolutely delighted with this and all the photos and videos that have been coming out about the stadium. They've not only been redoing the lower tiers, which has been closed for, I want to say, nearly 3 years now, if I'm not mistaken. They're also redoing many aspects of the stadium. So one small but very noticeable bit is that they've done the seats and the steps at the pretty much in the entirety of the ground. New banners and the rumours of new electronic boards outside the COP as well. They're also doing some works inside the executive board rooms and everything. With the statement of intent, really, that the new owners have brought in. I mean, because St Andrews has been so dead these past few seasons, how good is that Leeds game going to be back? I mean, is everybody going to that game? I imagine that majority of us are going to try and go to it.
It's going to be some atmosphere, isn't it? Yeah, that way.
We're doing the bastard season ticket arrives, yeah.
Have you? Oh yeah, forgot you still ain't got it. I have got mine here just to flex on all of you. Just I'm really enjoying the look of that right now, Jamie. Oh, wish you've had yours right here so I could enjoy it with you. But I mean, it's going to be great. That is. I mean, obviously we have Swansea first game of the season, but I mean, just as a general feel, how does it feel? Just as the attention to detail, really, that the owners have been putting into the stadium. I mean, what's your opinion on all of that?
It's just fantastic, isn't it, to see sort of the renovations that are happening and the fact that we're being kept up to date on what's happening as well, because beforehand with all the situations of the stands and that, we were left in the dark about it and we didn't really know what was happening, when it was going to be fixed and everything. But the fact that we are getting these updates, we're getting these pictures, I just think it's all positive. And the fan reaction to this news as well just shows the positivity around the club, and the fact we're even getting hot water, would you believe it? Hot water. And the reaction to that was one of my funniest times since the takeovers happened, where people have just sort of freaked out about the smallest things to people outside of Birmingham, but obviously we're actually a Birmingham fan. These things, they mean a lot to us, and because we've been sort of deprived of these things, and just the little things go a long way. And I think that's one of the main sort of things with this takeover, that they're doing the little things which go a long way with Birmingham fans.
Yeah, precisely, yeah, I completely agree. Jamie, have you got anything to add to this since you've been a long sufferer of the Blues?
It's just great, isn't it? It just, like I said before we started the pod, it just doesn't feel real still. If you told me 8 months ago, 10 months ago, when the Maxi deal fell through, that these guys are going to come in, Tom Brady's going to be part of your football club, you're going to make signings and spend actual fucking money and not on free transfers or loans, and you've actually signed people. That was the biggest shock for me when it said Tyler Roberts has signed for an undisclosed fee. I was like, we spent money. We have spent money on a footballer. What is going on here? This isn't some 34-year-old bint who can play centre half and's got about four games in his legs before he dies. This is a legit young, coming into his prime kind of player that we're signing. So it just all feels, every single announcement's great, because the sarcasm of Birmingham fans is also just elite, isn't it? Some of the absolute one-liners that Blues fans just drop on every single thing, and it's true. BSHL was shit at communicating. You wouldn't hear anything for about 6 months, and then you'd go, oh, by the way, the stadium's getting done. When? It's getting done when? When is this happening then?
It's
That's
amazing
great.
the beauty of hindsight, isn't it? Because it's so obvious now that BSHL were just so reluctant to spend any money, were they? Because like they'd invested for a long period of time, particularly in 2017, giving loads of money to Harry Redknapp, and they'd clearly gotten to a point, mainly I reckon during lockdown, where they were just like, "Nah, we're done with this. We're going to look to either try and get a little bit more money out of the club before we sell, or just sell up straight away." That really is pretty much what they've done in the end, really. So, I mean, you said before the podcast, are you a home or away kit man?
Yes, wherever we stand, guys.
So you said you were an away kit man, didn't you?
The home kit has grown on me. Very slowly it is growing the more I see it. I've just always liked the away kit anyway. I mean, it's not my, it's not my favourite away kit. I think my favourite away kit was probably when we were in the Prem, we had that black away kit.
Oh, yeah. No, that was a
I
great kit.
love
It's
Oh,
red again, which I think is quite strange. I mean, it's almost a replica of this season's kit entirely, really, because like we've had blue, and white in the home kit this season. I mean, last season, sorry, and then we had a red away kit as well. So it's the same again, really. So I'd have liked to have seen a yellow away kit. I'm a big fan of that, but yes, I don't know, really. I suppose. What do you think to the home kit then, guys?
Yeah, I mean, from what I'd sort of seen when there was the leaks announced and people were sort of speculating about the sort of shade of blue and stuff like that, and saying like, oh yeah, in the proper announcement it's going to look better, whatever. And the proper announcement did come out, and I think when this announcement came out, the kit did start to look better. And I'm a bit like Jamie, where the fact that it's grown on me the more I've seen it, the fact that it's actually on sale now and you see people wearing it, it does look like a decent kit. I mean, I put it sort of in terms of where we've been, like in the championship kits, I'd say it falls like sort of along the halfway mark. So there's definitely better kits, but there's definitely worse kits.
John, are you a fan of the kit, or are you not?
No, I think the home kit's strong. What I like about it most is that we've got a shit hot sponsor. Yeah. So it's not some random Eastern Asian betting company or the local scrap dealer or whatever. It's got a bit of credibility, and I think that adds weight to the actual shirt itself. What will be interesting is when the night deal comes to an end, if it becomes an undefeated kit, which could be insane, I think. And really different. But no, I think the home kit, it is what it is. The away kit, I'm with you, Tommy. I'm not massive on red. I'm definitely a yellow, as you can tell. Kit man, very old now. But no, I just think obviously Nike's a brand's fabulous, and but I just think that link with undefeated is just got so much legs. And the fact that Blues fans are spending 60 quid on baseball caps is unbelievable. But why not?
We're really willing to invest now, aren't we, into the club again? Because, like I said earlier, like with BSHL, you don't really want to be investing too much into them. I mean, obviously, I've had season tickets myself for these past few seasons, but that's only because I still enjoy going to the Blues as it is. But you don't really want to be giving them all the money in the world to be having on kits and everything. But with undefeated, it feels like like all you guys have been saying throughout this podcast, a clean, appropriate sponsor. It feels like a well-run company that can properly help fund us as well. So yeah, I feel like fans can be excused for getting a little bit carried away and going and spending a fair bit of money on some pretty decent merchandise as well. Let's be having it fair as well, because I mean, those caps and those T-shirts and everything, they look quality, and I'm looking at them myself, to be honest. So I'm really quite interested in them.
I think that you just talked about the previous owners. I think hindsight's a wonderful thing, but obviously with the owners coming in, yes, they've bought the debt, and Christ knows how much that was. God knows. Let's say it's 50 million, whatever it is. But the reality of what they've done so far, as far as selling the assets they've got, so the 5 for Chong, the 3 for Bellingham, and I have no idea what we're getting from Jude. Some are saying 5, some are 7.15. I have no idea. It's probably somewhere between the two. God knows.
Roughly, yeah. I imagine. I can't imagine it's 20 or anything.
No,
like that.
So even if it's 10, they've got 20 million quid in, and I know we've bought some players, but cumulatively, what's that? Probably 8. So you've got a balance of a lot of money that can then do the ground. And so that the answer for the previous owners was there. They just needed the imagination to bloody do it.
Yeah.
And they didn't have it. So, and they'd have just sold the players, pocketed the money, and then we'd been back into the same shit that we've been in for so many years. And no, but I'm with you. I think that the amount of merch that's going to be sold will be great for the new owners, because it's really important that their business model works. Because if they're saying they've got a massive fan base and everything else, then probably need to put our hands in our pocket, which I'm sure we all will.
I will definitely be forking out 50 to 100 quid for both the home and away shirts this season. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
We've got a few questions from Twitter. I've completely forgot. FPL Blue Nose has asked, what are the realistic expectations for the season? I'm staying grounded and saying top half would be a good season. Any thoughts?
I completely agree. Completely agree with. I think I said before we joined 12th. I'm happy, and I think I am. Like, we've got 9 new players. They aren't going to gel straight away. It needs time. So I'd say get the young lads all playing together. These lads are only going to get better, and we're just going to build from here. It's going to be good. I don't think we'll be in a relegation battle at all. If you tell me on March the 1st that we're already on 50 points and we're safe, I might helicopter around my room, to be fair. So it's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good season.
Oh God, you say that so much, I'm actually getting a bit worried now.
Well, it's going to be a good day. I hope so.
How many points is mid-table at the end of each season? Is it like
60-ish usually?
60? Yeah, I think so. How many wins and draws is that in total? It's just like
about 15 wins and probably about 10-ish draws.
Yeah, I mean, compare that to this season, then it's already a massive improvement, really, isn't it? Because despite the fact that we went on the pretty decent run, sort of October, November-ish time, then I feel like we could perhaps build on that momentum to keep on going throughout the season. But yeah, I'd gladly take a mid-table at this point, really, particularly where we've been in the last few seasons. Guarantee you, though, if we are mid-table come December, I will not be having mid-table and be very upset with this, and I'll probably demand that we get at least somewhere near the playoffs.
Can't wait to speak to you in December when you go, we should be fucking top 8. Why are we not in top 8 yet?
The running theme, though, I'll still be moaning about Scott Hogan, that's for sure.
I was just about to say, all the chances Hogan misses, like, if Hogan had scored this, we would have been here.
Yeah, I can already imagine myself saying it, so I've got it already. Might as well write it down now, actually. Yeah, Sam, where would you think that realistically we could finish by the end of this season?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with a lot of Blues fans and saying top half would be a really good season, because it would be progression on the last few seasons. Because, I mean, everyone knows the stat that in the last sort of, 6-7 seasons, you haven't finished above, 17th. And I think that just goes to show that, what we've been used to, really. And just being competitive in games, that's something that I would really look forward to next season, because last season we were sort of competitive in a lot of games, but I just feel like there was times where you sort of lacked that clinical edge, or was a bit of sort of inexperience in the team. But the fact that we have got these players that were on loan last season now permanent in Bielik and Sanderson, and getting Kevin Long back, people that were there before that already sort of know the system and the setup. And if we can get a couple more bodies through the door as well, I think top half would be something that I'd be really happy with.
John, are you going any higher, any lower? What's your stance on the end of the season?
I was saying to Jan before we came on, I actually don't think... I think we're going to have a tough start to the season. I think the first 6 to 10 games might be a bit difficult, because, I mean, I'm desperate for Eustace to do well. Desperate, because I think he's earned the right. I think he did a really, really good job under the impossible circumstances last season. And I think he gets it as well. And I just hope he's got the talent, and I don't know whether he has. I'd hope he has, to get us into that sort of closing in on the playoffs. I'm not saying we're going to do that this season, because I'm not going to say we're not going to do it, because who knows. But I think what will happen is, I think it'll be, because we started the last 2 or 3 seasons really strong, haven't we? But I think that's been born out of good fitness, high press, not a lot of football, bullying. Not great, it's just been, the good sides that are struggling to find their form early part of the season. We sort of bulldoze over them. I don't know. I'm quite conflicted, because obviously, November time last year we were 7th, and we actually were playing some all right stuff, and you're getting a bit carried away with that. So what would I be happy with? I'd be happy with an improvement, obviously, on this season as we move. We need to move forward, but I just think we need a pattern of play and a style of play.
Yeah.
So when we turn up to games, it's not just ad hoc, knee jerk. I think it just needs to be a bit more consistent on the style and the approach to the way we go about things. But I think it's difficult to give a prediction. I mean, the one thing I'm fucking saying now, and I'm going to live to regret it. I don't see relegation. I just don't see it. I think we're just too many good players, too much good buzz about the place. If it was a flip of a coin, relegation or promotion, I'd definitely be going promotion over the two. But I'll give you Luton. And so many of the shite sides that get in and around the top six every season. Why can't it be us this season? It's going to be one. It might be us. It might not be. But definite improvement, I would say, and around about that mid-table, I think is the minimum we should be looking for.
We've all fairly got our grounded points of view then. I think it's good to see, really, because I see a lot of other fan bases getting carried away with all the stuff that they're happening. But I think that's what makes really good for Blues fans, really, is the fact that we are all seeing sort of the same vision at the moment and all the same things that's going on around the club as well. It's nice to see. It's some good camaraderie, like you were saying earlier, Sam. It's like it feels good vibes around the club again, isn't it? It's not like a split or anything. It feels like a proper unified enjoyment back with the club at the moment. It's really
Start of a new
refreshing
beginning,
to
really.
see. Yeah. And that's why I think that these marketing campaigns that they're obviously doing at the moment with Birmingham back on the rise, everything then around the community and everything as well. It feels perfect. It feels absolutely spot on, and they've really captured the motions of how the fans are feeling at the moment. And it's precisely how we all feel as well. So, and the fact that we've all just pretty much said that we all think that we're going to be in the similar position at the end of the season, then capturing that emotion, particularly, has been key for really how the owners have arrived on the scene, really. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all we have to talk about. But before we do leave, rather unfortunately, we do have to talk about the sad passing of Trevor Francis, a massive hero for the Blues. Arguably, actually, no, not even arguably, Blues' greatest ever player. I went down the other day. I filmed my experience of laying some flowers and just sort of capturing the experience of what it was like around there. If we're being honest, we don't really have much planned for this. I haven't got like any little montage to show you at the end of it. But I suppose we can just talk a little bit about Trevor Francis and just what he meant to the club, really. I mean, I had the honour of meeting him about 10 years ago, I think it was. But does anybody else have some good memories of him and like just what he as a person sort of means to you and as like around just being Blues as general, really?
I think you probably say the same thing as me, Tommy, and you as well, Jamie, and maybe you as well, John. The fact that any Blues fan that you speak to Trevor Francis about would just speak so highly of him, and pretty much everybody's dad's favourite Birmingham player, put it that way. Where
he's a
they
massive
would have liked
hero,
seeing him sort of play in the stadium and that, and I wish I would have been able to see Trevor Francis play because everybody speaks so high of him and the fact that he was so sort of technically gifted and he stayed at Birmingham for as long as he did as well, because you look at sort of today's scenario where if a player plays really well at that young age, then they'll be tapped up by Europe's biggest clubs and that. But Trevor Francis, he played over 300 games for Birmingham and scored well over 100 goals as well. He gave so much to the club sort of as a player and as a manager as well, and really personified what Birmingham is, and the fact that all the Birmingham fans have sort of gone to the stadium and paid their respects, and that it just goes to show how much of a legend Trevor Francis is.
Yeah, absolutely. John, were you fortunate enough to have witnessed Trevor Francis?
Close.
Yeah.
Oh, my first game was 79. Just missed him. My dad saw him on debut. And he so many stories. Saw him score 4. And yeah, the best player he's ever seen live. I think from my point of view, my memories are more of him, obviously, as a manager.
Mm-hmm.
So including the Premiers, the favourite for me time for being a Blues fan was when Barry Fry was manager, because it was just brilliant. It was absolutely just comedy gold, home and away. But then we got real, and it's a bit like now. When obviously the Golds and Brady came in all those years ago, they brought Barry on, and it sort of worked, but probably didn't work the way that they would have liked. But when they brought Trevor in, it was very much, this is a proper football club. And I think today is very similar to that. We've got proper owners that expect the best for the club. And I think going back to those times when Trevor came on board, he knew the club inside out. I was there when we got cheated out of the cup final against Liverpool because David Ella was a shithouse. Never ever forget that.
It was a penalty,
mate.
Definitely.
I'm friends with Liverpool fans, and they're still telling me it weren't a pen.
Absolute, just disgusting. And just the playoffs. If anybody deserved to take us up after all those years, it was definitely Trevor Francis. And clubs are built on players like him, and without him, again, God knows where we'd have been. Because when we sold him, again, we needed the money. It was one of those, the ongoing sort of didn't have any money whatsoever in the club and had to get rid. But for what it's worth, my business is called Blue 8 Group, and that's Trevor Francis. So that's what he means to me. And that sort of mural with him and Jude, it seems even more poignant, doesn't it now?
So significant for the club, yeah.
Just an absolute legend. And I suppose it's a real shame that he didn't get to see the last couple of weeks, really.
Yeah, precisely.
But
I think if rumours were true as well, that he was going to be fairly more involved with the club in the up and coming years as well, which is another really sad thing to see as well, is that he could have played a massive part in this new era for the Blues.
I would put a significant amount of money on a statue or because they get it. They get it, and there will definitely be a tribute to him that probably lasts beyond all of our lifetimes, which is absolutely the right thing to do.
No, absolutely, yeah. You got many good memories of Trevor Francis, Jamie? Is it that mainly that cup final?
Yeah, like I said, I went to football relatively late for someone who usually gets into football, let's be honest. So my cousin, I've spent a lot of time talking to my cousin about it, actually. He said when the year he started going was when Trevor was in charge as a manager. But one thing, you speak to any older Birmingham fan, and they very, in no uncertain terms, will tell you two things. They love Birmingham City, and Trevor Francis is a fucking god. A god amongst men. And that's the main thing, isn't it? The first £1 million footballer, absolute historic man. And just, he seems to be a man whose technical ability was a little bit ahead of his time, if you know what I mean. Like, he was playing the way that people play now, and back then that was unheard of. His ability, his way to just run around people.
Yeah, precisely.
It's sad. Yeah. It's just sad, isn't it? It's just a really sad time. Like, after all this positive we've had, and then that was just like fuck,
it was a big swerve, wasn't it? So we had all this great news with the ownership takeover and the stadium repairs, transfer news, and then to say that just suddenly come out of the blue, it was very sudden. It was very shocking. I touched on the fact that I met him about 10 years ago. I remember it really well, obviously, but I always knew Trevor Francis, obviously, from being a massive Blues fan. But I always had a DVD when I was younger of Blues' 250 greatest goals, and Trevor Francis had his own little chapters. It was like an A to Z, and it had all of our greatest goals, 250 of them, and T was his chapter, so it had pretty much all of his greatest goals from that chapter. So I always used to religiously watch that DVD. So I knew all of his goals. I knew the little turn against QPR and into the near post, that one there, and the one against Norwich or Nottingham Forest, or whichever he does. He sort of runs around the player and arrows it back into the far bottom corner. All of his great goals. So when I did finally meet him, me, my dad, and my brother, and my mum, actually, she was there as well. He came to one of our training sessions, which was really quite strange because we won an award in the West Midlands. I can't remember what the award was now, but it was my football club. It's the football club that my football team, sorry, and we'd won that award, and the whatever it was that Trevor Francis, I think it was the reward that we got for it, was that he was to come down and to come and watch some of our training sessions, do a little piece for a news editorial and everything. And we got a photo of him. I'm pretty sure that the photo was used as the main photo for the article and everything. Me and my dad and my brother and Trevor. And yeah, he was a gentleman. He was absolutely fantastic. He was brilliant with everybody. I mean, like, I was about, how old was I? I was about 10 or 11 years of age. But yeah, he was fantastic. You can tell that he was a proper football vet, really. You can see that he knew the ins and outs of football. He got exactly the right things to say at every single time, really. And it was an amazing time, really. And obviously, being one of my dad's absolute idols when growing up and watching him in the 70s down at St Andrews, it was an amazing moment for him to meet him and have a proper chat with him and everything. So to see him go, it's really quite of a shock, really. It's really quite sad, but that's just life, unfortunately. It's how things go. But he'll always live on in the memories of every Blues fan. And yeah, a statue is definitely within need, and maybe a little bit of more of a mural as well, because it's lovely to see everything that Trevor Francis and Jude Bellingham thing. But I do feel like we probably could perhaps rename the main stand. You said that, Jamie, didn't you?
Well, I've seen a lot of petitions online for it saying, like, I think some people are saying the main stand's the only stand that hasn't really been touched since Trevor was, like, it's still as it was. I think people are saying
that is for sure. Probably still got your roots in there.
I don't know if that's factual. I don't know if that's factual information, but that's what I've been reading.
Like the nuclear holocaust, that stadium.
Knowing our luck, we'd change it to the Trevor Francis Stadium. The next year, be like, and there's asbestos. Great.
Oh god, brilliant.
I think that's quite a nice way to end the podcast, actually. Yeah, so thank you for coming on, John. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been great having you on again.
Thanks for the time.
Be sure to check us out on all the relevant links in the description down below. We've got a link tree. I can't be arsed in saying all the different things nowadays. So I will find a better way of doing that in the new season coming up. But technically, this is the first episode of the new season. We haven't actually done the Swansea predictions. I've just suddenly realised. Oh God, I'm really not in the flow at the moment. Quickly, because we're really running a bit long with this anymore. Jamie, give us your prediction.
I mean, I'm going to be Mr. Positive again this year, and I think we're just going to shit out a 2-1 or a 1-0. I just don't know why, but they've got a new manager. I think, although they've still got a really good squad, and I think Eustace even said that today, they've got a good manager. I'm hopeful that new managers, trying to take over a team, and maybe we have to be that horrible team for a little bit at the start. When in doubt, shit out at Tajuki might actually work in this situation. So I think a dirty 1-0 would be great.
Yeah, I mean, a winning start is always great on the first day. Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I can get on board with a 1-0 really because of all the goals that happened in the Birmingham Swansea games last season. I think, well, there was the 4-3, wasn't there, at the Swansea Stadium, and then the home fixture, there's quite a lot of goals in that as well. So I think all the goals from last season, this season, one solitary goal settle it, and I'd say, Birmingham 1-0.
John?
Tyler Roberts' goal.
Tyler Roberts' goal as well, yeah.
Yeah.
How much you putting on that? You putting a fiver on that or anything?
Yeah, go on then.
I'll hold you accountable to that.
I'm going to be boring and say 1 each.
1 each. Okay. I could see perhaps maybe a draw or anything. I don't know. It's difficult to say because we've had a sort of similar run of fixtures really for the last few first game of the seasons. We had Brentford twice in 2 seasons, didn't we? And we both won them 1-0 from a header as well, which was quite interesting. And against Sheffield United as well. That's really quite strange. Last season, obviously, we had Luton. That was a draw. So I'm going to go a draw as well. But I think it's going to be an entertaining draw. I think there's going to be goals because of the two sort of similar teams I think we have at this stage. We've both got some really decent players, but I feel like we're probably not going to gel as well as we will do later on in the season. So I feel like a 2-2 draw will be, I think, fairly understandable, particularly for a first game of the season. Both teams are going to be up for it. Both teams are going to want to impress. So 2-2, I think it will go back and forth. I'm not entirely sure who'll take the lead and who will get the last equaliser. It'll probably be us. We always seem to do stuff like that. But yeah, I think 2-2. Jamie's gone a 1-0 or 2-0 Blues. Sam, you've gone a 1-0. And me and John have gone draws. So let's see who's right. No, none of us have gone for a defeat yet, though. We haven't lost on the first game for a while, have we? So no defeats on the cards, that's for sure.
I don't think I predicted a single defeat last season. I can't physically do it. I can't physically say Birmingham are going to lose. It just hurts.
Southampton away.
Yeah.
Leicester away.
Leicester away, that's the one. Bloody hell.
There's some absolute firepower down there this year, and there as well. I was like, oh, fuck's sake.
I fancy us against Leeds, though, to be honest. We always seem to do pretty well against Leeds.
It's written,
Dirty
Leeds is written in the stars for us. It's the first home game since obviously Trevor's passing. St Andrews is pretty much sold out. It is going to be, the stadium is going to be electric.
Yeah, it's going to be the best home game we've had in absolutely years. But
it's going to be carnage. I'm getting the train up from Worcester. I'm not driving. I'm getting shit-faced. I've openly declared this already. I'm coming
we need
down.
to get in the roost, because if Tom Brady's in the
I'm
roost,
on the roost.
Just walk through the door and just see Tom Brady behind you. Like, what?
I'll be in there from 10. I'll be in there from 10 a.m. just going for it. I'll see you in there, lads.
Yeah, literally. We have to helicopter us in just to get a table. Oh fuck! The only problem is though with Leeds, I'm quite confident about getting a win, but they have got Daniel Farker as the manager, and we never win against him. We always lost to him whenever he was Norwich manager.
We were shit then.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, we have also been dog shit for about 8 years. Like, there is that to kind of put into account.
We are kind of like that though. We don't really, because like we've had that with other managers as well. Like we never beat Martin O'Neill. We could never beat Dean Smith. We could never beat any old Villa managers really. We always really struggled against this.
Graham Taylor. He could have got rest his soul. He could have stayed there forever.
Oh god, he'd never have got a win. He would. Honestly, he was the manager for the Enkelman games.
Oh yeah, I was there. That was beautiful. Beautiful,
mental,
absolutely beautiful,
amazing. So we've all gone fairly confident predictions. We will be back after the Swansea game for a review and a preview of the Leeds game. Hopefully Zach will be back with us fairly soon. But yeah, thank you again for coming on, John. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Sam and Jamie, once again, guys.
Thank you.
And yeah,
always
keep right on.
Keep right on, man.